Good evening. Happy Halloween. Now here's a movie that I watched at the beginning of October this year, and I realized that I'd forgotten to actually film a review for this, so bear with me. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I just don't remember, but I felt I had to give a review anyway, and I had to feature this movie. This is a film all about Halloween. This is Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is a movie from 2007. Once again in that golden age of horror movies where everything was getting pretty samey. You know, the mid to late 2000s. There was some good stuff in there. I mean, Slither was pretty good. This was a year after that. This is produced by Bryan Singer. Controversial name, I know. But directed by Michael Dougherty. It is a Halloween anthology. There's 3 or 4 separate little storylines that are going on in here, but they're all strung together in sort of a weird chronological order. You know, it all kind of blends together. People that die in one scene show up 2 scenes later because this supposedly takes place earlier than the events that we saw earlier. Anyway, so there's like an opening scene where this couple they're dressed as like robots, sci-fi, cheap-looking robot costumes, and they're coming home from like the local Halloween party or whatever, and there's still kids like trick-or-treating all over the place. And so the time scale is kind of weird here, and I guess it's like the end of the evening for them. You know, the wife wants to take down the Halloween decorations. The guy's like, just leave them up, you know, it's Halloween night. You don't take down the decorations right when there's still like kids out there. And anyway, but she insists that she's going to do this, and she gets murdered in her front yard as she's taking down all these Halloween decorations because I guess she's violating the code of Halloween or something. Then we get our opening credits, and there's a kid going around smashing people's pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns. Also violating the Halloween code, I suppose. And he gets his comeuppance because he goes to visit the house or trick or treat at the house of the local school principal, who's a murderous psychopath, and poisons the kid and murders him and buries him in the backyard or something. And he gets his comeuppance later in the movie, but meanwhile he's like passing along his like psychotic behavior to his kid, and yeah, it's pretty bizarre. Anyway, so you get your like serial killer, and then you get a story about like ghosts or whatever, about how there's this school bus crashed into this abandoned quarry, into the lake in the quarry, and there's these kids that want to go check it out on Halloween night because it's like, you know, ghost stories and all that, and they want to scare each other. Basically, all those kids run across like actual, or it seems like actual zombies, even though they're trying to run a prank on this other girl, and it backfires on them, and there is real ghosts and zombies and stuff in the lake aboard this crashed school bus, which turns out to have been driven by the guy in the next story. That bus driver goes on to be this grumpy old drunk or whatever, and played by Brian Cox, who makes a great performance in here, just freaking out and actually getting attacked by this little munchkin guy. His name is Sam, and he runs around with a bag over his head, but he's wearing these orange pajamas. And since Brian Cox, the former bus driver, hasn't decorated his place for Halloween or anything, I guess he's got to pay for his transgression, and he has no candy to give away or anything like that. So this little guy, little Sam, comes in and basically murders him, or tries to murder him, and attacks him, and with a knife and everything, and it turns out he's like this supernatural creature, the spirit of Halloween or something. And yeah, so that turns out to be probably the best segment of the whole thing. There's another one where Anna Paquin is dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, and we think that she's getting stalked by this like vampire or whatever, who turns out to be, I think, the psychotic serial killer principal. But it turns out that Anna Paquin and her friends are werewolves, and they end up devouring him, and he gets his comeuppance. And meanwhile, we're supposed to think that she's like this victim, but really she's participating in this pagan, supernatural werewolf tradition party on All Hallows Eve, right? So nothing bad happens to her, which is weird. But all the kids that went to go see the abandoned bus and full of like mental patients or whatever that all was deliberately crashed in the lake, they all pretty much die except for the one autistic girl who they were trying to prank in the first place. She manages to escape, and I don't know, it was very disjointed in terms of like the different story elements and the different chapters in this anthology, because they would cut between them quite often, and some of them would be out of like chronological order. So we didn't really get like a protagonist in here. We didn't get like any character development or anything like that. It's just like spooky stories or whatever, and some freaky stuff, and the gore effects are actually pretty good in here. There's a good amount of scares, so it makes a pretty good horror movie. A lot of it just went by, and it's really not all that memorable, other than the fact that it has all these Halloween tropes in there. Poison candy, smashing pumpkins, not the band. Yeah, it's got a real Halloween flavor to it, which I really appreciated, and especially this time of year when I'm watching all these horror movies. But as a movie overall, I think kind of fell a little bit short. I thought it could have been a little bit better. I mean, I liked all the actors in here. They all did a fine job, and everybody was fine. Scares were good, gore was good suspense in there, good cinematography, the music is fine. Just since it was so scattered, I didn't quite enjoy this as much as I think I could have. Maybe if it was edited just a little bit differently, I would have got more out of it. But I think if you want to see like a good Halloween movie, this is a good one. It's still a very good movie, just with a few flaws. I mean, there's some stuff, in terms of suspense, you see it coming like a mile away. But then there's other stuff that has a little bit of a twist on it that you don't really expect. So, yeah. Weighing out all those pros and cons, I think I'd have to go ahead and give Trick or Treat 2007 a B. A solid B. I mean, I was thinking B- there because of the disjointed editing and the lack of protagonists and like story arc, anything like that. But I guess that's to be expected in like an anthology movie. Kind of surprised me and kind of brought it up, brought it up from a B- just because it surprised me that it was as good as it was. So I guess there's a few things that hold it back from being like an A movie, but it's not a B-. It's not like a C++, something that just went by and had no impact, because it did have an impact, and I enjoyed it. Had a smile on my face by the time credits rolled on this. It was pretty good. So again, I gave Trick or Treat a B. Okay, we're getting close, kids. Now, so far I haven't had any really, really good horror movies for you this October Horror-thon. Hoping to end with an A+. Well, I guess it depends on what I watch in the next little bit, but I'm saving up a couple of favorite horror movies for, right around Halloween. So until the next video, stay safe and have a good one out there, everybody. Happy Halloween.